Good morning and happy Sabbath wherever you are. Welcome to another Sabbath Bible Lessons Teachers Helps. We're going through the Sabbath School lesson for adults. This is third quarter of 2022. Stewards of the Last Days. We're up to lesson number 4 this week. Lesson number 4. Stewards of the Last Days. As I mentioned last week, this is part 1. Part 1 deals with the character qualities required of someone who's meant to be a steward of the Lord's goods. God's given us this whole world in trust. How we use it, we will be given account for. And not only how we use this world, but our own time and talents that we have, particularly when it comes to our money, our wealth, our all those things associated with that. How we use those things will be given an account of to God. And so we want to know, what kind of character do we need to have to be a faithful steward? And that's what this first half's all about, this quarter. Next quarter we'll be focusing on in details, the specifics of being a steward. But this is really about the character qualities of a steward. So this week's lesson is lesson number 4, overcoming bad tendencies, or conquering bad tendencies, number 2. Now, as I've mentioned in my Sabbath school lessons, I try to focus on how am I going to teach this lesson to lead a soul to Christ, because that's what the whole object of Sabbath school is, to lead souls to Jesus, into a personal relationship with Christ. And recognizing, as far as this lesson is concerned, that He's our Lord and we're His steward, or someone who's been given a trust, being entrusted with His goods to distribute to those who are in need. And that's what this is all about. So I want to bring my class to appreciate that concept through this quarter. Now, excuse me. Another thing I want you to keep in mind is, when we're doing the lesson, it's no good just asking question, answer, like question here as it reads here, then read the Bible verse and then read the note, read the note. Anyone can do that. What we want to do is get our students to bring out what they understand by the Bible verse or by the notes. So you want to try and encourage that. Get the students to state in their own words what they understand from what they've read. And so that way it reinforces the lesson, and you know what they know, and then you know where you need to focus in to help them understand and appreciate whatever point it might be. Which brings me to this key code written here at the top of the lesson. And this is something that I use as a teacher. I've got codes here. There's an asterisk, means a new concept. The arrow means a personal need. The plus symbol means a personal help. And the hash symbol or pound symbol means something the class should understand. Excuse me. Now, as I'm going through the lesson, I will mark up my lesson accordingly. You can see here I've got a hash symbol here. Over here I've got another hash at the bottom here. And over the page, same kind of thing happening over here and here. Actually, I've got the hash down here, and that's an asterisk up there. The hashes are those concepts I want my class to understand. And so if I'm going through the lesson, maybe I've only got a few minutes left of the class, and I'm only up to Wednesday, well, I can quickly hone in on that hash point to know, well, that's the main point I want to get my class to understand, okay? So this week's lesson, also keep in mind that what we want to do is summarize the lesson with a take-home point for the week. So what's the take-home point from this lesson? What's the one key idea I want my class to take home from the lesson this week? Well, that stems from the points from each day. There's one micro point, we call it the micro point, from each day that summarizes that day's main idea. What is that micro point? I establish it, then I put all 5 of them together and summarize the 5 into one overall point for the day. Macro, micro, macro. Okay, so macro point is the overall, and we break that down into the micro points for the day. So looking at this week's lesson, the macro point, I don't know what you got for it, but this lesson, for me, the macro point is, I wrote this down, let me just get there. Where are we? Sorry, give me a minute here. Let me just get there. Lesson number 4 is what I'm looking at. here. Sorry, a minute. I'll just get my macro points. All right. I'll write this down. I'm in the wrong lesson for this. Lesson 4. Oh, here we are, macro point. All right, sorry about that. All right, macro point. A wise person avoids the deceitfulness of riches by recognizing the only thing we can take from this world is a morally beautiful character. Okay, so that's what it's all about. The deceitfulness of riches is a key thought coming through here, and it's about how to avoid that, the deceitfulness of riches. And it really comes down to this, that a person who is wise, they avoid it by recognizing the only thing we can take from this world is a morally beautiful character, a character like Christ's, in other words. So let's have a look at this lesson, okay? For the day, Conquering Bad Tendencies, memory verse here. It's from Matthew 13:22. Obviously, that's the point I'm underlining in my lesson here, is the deceitfulness of riches, because that's the key thought coming through this lesson, all right? The deceitfulness of riches is what chokes out spiritual life. The cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches is what chokes out our spiritual life. Okay, so we want to avoid that. And we don't want to be among that class, as the note brings out there, the key note, that all money lovers will one day cry in bitter anguish, "Oh, the deceitfulness of riches, I've sold my soul for money." Okay, so looking at the lesson day, breaking it down, deception, the first section under deception. Now, I've broken this up into, my main idea is going to come through from Jeremiah 6:13, okay, Jeremiah 6:13, which says this, from the least of them even unto the greatest of them, everyone is given to covetousness, and the prophet even unto the priest, everyone deals falsely. Last week we dealt a lot with covetousness. We see here that covetousness leads one to deal falsely with others. They're so greedy for gain that rather than be fair and treat everybody fair and just, they practice deception, okay? They deal falsely with their neighbour when acquiring goods or acquiring wealth. All right, so that's the key thought coming through for me. The devil will infuse his spirit, which is a spirit of covetousness, which leads us to practice deception and lies. So I said, I've got this micro point here for the day of a person who is given to covetousness will practice deception for gain. All right, so there's a few points being brought out here about how God considers deception, but to me that's the key thought here. You know, as it says there in Acts 5, we see that that Ananias and Sapphira were filled with the spirit of the devil. They had the spirit of covetousness, and they held back part of the price of the land that was sold. They held back for themselves, and that led them then to lie about what they had done. So, you know, you can see the lying just doesn't come out of the blue. It's stemming from this, in this situation, it was stemming from their love of their money. They wanted to lie about it to make themselves appear better than what they were. And so that's the key idea there, that deceitfulness is stemming from this love of money or this covetousness. Okay, and so again, Psalms 101, how does God, Solomon and David, what was their attitude about deception? Well, they wanted to be free from it. You know, they said, "He that tells lies shall not tarry in my sight." That's what the Lord says. "He that works deceit shall not dwell within my house." And remove far from me vanity and lies. Deliver me from the deceitful and unjust man, it says there in Psalm 43 verse 1. Okay, so we want to have deceit delivered far from us, which stems back to, well, we've got to have covetousness, overcome covetousness, and you'll go a long way to removing deceit from your life, okay? Especially when it comes to gaining, business affairs and gaining money. Next thing there is avoiding those who are deceitful. All right, it says, "Remove far from me," or rather, Psalm 43 verse 1, that was coming out in part C here. Deliver me from the deceitful and unjust man. So keep me away from them, in other words. Right? And in regard to those who are practicing deceit in gaining their riches, question D just brings this out, that they are really digging a hole for themselves. They're digging their own graves, okay, and they're going to lie in them eventually. So it's just highlighting here the attitude, the Bible's attitude towards deception. And a key thought for me is, from that, the micro point is that it's the covetousness, right, that desire for gain that leads to practice deception, right? So that's the key thought coming out for me on that point. Next section under Monday is called dishonesty. Now, again, dishonesty is similar to deception, all right? But someone's dishonest, they're going to, not be truthful in all areas of their life, okay? So in regards to the key points here for the day, I've got this: riches gained through dishonesty will result in eternal death. It's very simple, right? Riches gained through dishonesty results in eternal death. As far as God's concerned, he regards dishonesty as an abomination. All right, he calls it a lying tongue. Is one of these 6 abominations the Lord says: a false witness, and he that speaks lies, he that walks with a crooked mouth, a froward mouth. All right, he that winks with his eyes. Right, so deception and dishonesty are closely related here. All right, but it's just highlighting what God, how God considers it. Now, one of the things that dishonest person will do is seek to misrepresent the motive of others to make themselves appear better than others, all right? So that's one of the things that we're counseled against. There in Psalms, or rather in Proverbs 6, and also here in the note it talks about the ruin that's caused by misrepresenting motive, blackening reputation, and dissecting character. Right? These are one of the evils that occur. These are one of the things that occurs when we practice dishonesty, all right? God condemns us for these things. Now, I've got down here under C, what will happen to anything that is acquired dishonestly? Well, Proverbs 21 verse 6 is quite clear there for me. That's the key idea there, that it will diminish. It says there, wealth gotten by, not Proverbs 23:36, it's Proverbs 13 verse 11. Wealth gotten by vanity will diminish, but he that gathers by labour shall increase. All right, wealth gotten by vanity will diminish. Now, someone who is getting riches through dishonesty is someone who is seeking death. That's ultimately what it says here. The getting of treasures by lying tongue, Proverbs 21 verse 6, is a vanity tossed to and fro of them that seek death. Okay, so that's reality there. So riches gained then through dishonesty, bringing down the misrepresenting others as well as yourself, all right, will result in death. Okay, you're only digging a grave for yourself. So that's what the Bible considers about dishonesty. All right, so that's a key idea coming through for me there. On Tuesday, we've got here injustice now. So one thing leads to another. The deception, the dishonesty leads you, to practice injustice. And injustice in the Bible is a key concept when it comes to what we call today social justice, that is taking care of the socially disadvantaged, okay, those in our communities who are disadvantaged. In the Bible, it highlights here, particularly under question B, and I've put a hash symbol there because that's something I want my class to understand, all right, and that is this, that there's a class of people in the Bible, they're often mentioned together. We call them the quartet of the vulnerables, and they are the poor, the fatherless, the widow, and the stranger in the land. Okay, we might call them today the poor, all right, the orphan, The widows, those who are single, women without financial support, they need help, all right? Single parents, whatever, mother or father, single, they may need some help, and the stranger in the land, the refugee, you might say, right? These are the vulnerables, those who need our help, and it's considered to be injustice when you refrain from helping them. In fact, the Bible calls that oppression, that you are an oppressor of the poor by refusing to help them, to hold back your wealth when you know there are people around you in need, is to oppress those people. That's a key concept in the Bible. God considers oppression when you hold back the riches He's given you. You keep them for yourself rather than using them to bless those in need, the disadvantaged amongst us. That's a key idea I want my class to understand, okay? And that comes through here in Tuesday, and that's really what injustice is as far as God's concerned, all right? So in terms of acquiring our wealth, we can practice injustice by all those things, being deceiving, being dishonest. We can have a false balance. But when it comes to the rich or the poor, we are to have no respect of those persons. All right? That's what Leviticus 19 verse 15 brings out. When we come to dealing with others, we are to show no partiality. Whether they're rich or poor, we have the same price for our goods or our labor, whatever we're doing. And we be honest and upfront about the thing. We don't hide what's wrong with the product. If there is, we know something's wrong with it. We be honest with it, okay? So we don't show partiality to anyone. And that's something, it's hard to do, but it's something that only by the grace of God that we can do. And I think it's hard to do for someone who is covetous, someone who's wanting to get as much as they can for what they're offering. It's hard to do that, but we should show partiality to no one. Okay, so, and then when it comes to the disadvantaged group, that's under B, what I mentioned before, we give to the disadvantaged. We help the poor, we help the fatherless, we help the widows, we help the stranger in the land. Okay, God requires that His people should not allow the poor and afflicted to be oppressed. As I mentioned, we oppress them by not helping them, by not giving them the things that they need. And we have plenty for ourselves. So that's a key idea I want to bring out here. And if we are doing this in the church, God will hold us accountable for that, so particularly. So let's ensure that, this is not something I want my class to understand. I'll bring that out to them. That when we relieve the needs of the disadvantaged, we deliver them from their oppressors. Right? So by us delivering them, we're not oppressing them. All right? And if we do deliver them, they are delivered from their oppressors, those who are holding back. So it's a twofold sword here. It's a double advantage. We deliver ourselves. Well, we cease oppressing ourselves. We cease practicing oppression ourselves, and we deliver the poor from their oppressors when we give to help them. Okay, so that's the key idea coming through there for me. On Wednesday, this is where the wisdom comes into it. Okay, the wise. Who are the wise in this world? All right. Well, it's all about avoiding bad company, and the wise will do that, okay? We are to seek counsel. We can't go through this life without seeking counsel. And who do we seek counsel from? Well, Proverbs 13, verse 20 says, "He that walks with wise men shall be wise," right? But a companion of fools shall be destroyed. So he that walks with wise men shall be wise. So if you want to be wise, choose your companions well. Don't choose those who are of a bad character. The only safe course, the note brings out here, is to mingle with the pure, the holy, and thus natural tendencies to evil will be held in check. All right, if you want your evil tendencies, to get the better of you, associate with those who are practicing, sin. Associate with those who have no control over their tendencies. All right, But if you choose companions that love the Lord, that walk in His ways, then their example on you will be for good. And that's why a wise person, the wise, as it says there, he that walks with wise shall be wise. All right? The influence of the wise rubs off on you. All right? That's just the principle of, or the law of human nature. Right? Those that we influence, that we surround ourselves with, we are influenced by, and we become like them. By beholding, we become changed. That's just the law of the human mind. So, question B then brings out, what must we consider regarding persons not in harmony with the principles of Christian stewardship? So remember, the whole lesson's about stewardship. So for those who are holding back their wealth, or for those who are not morally good, the verse here in Proverbs brings this out. Proverbs 14 verse 7, it says here that go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. And now we know knowledge comes from the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? So someone who does not have the fear of the Lord, you can't spend all your time with them, all right? I mean, that is taking them into your confidence as a close companions. And I'm not saying that you can't associate with them, but I'm just saying that not to take them into your confidence as being your closest companions, because spending all your time with them, you end up becoming like them, losing the fear of the Lord. 2 Thessalonians 3 verse 6, in fact, tells us this here, that now we command you, brethren, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, that you withdraw yourselves from every brother that walks disorderly. Now, some of the newer translations say that walks in idleness. How do we put those together? Well, the word in the Greek for disorderly was a military term. It came from walking in order and regularity. And so someone who's not walking in order, who's really being irregular, being disorderly, not doing whatever they want when they want to do it, rather than doing it when it's meant to be done. Okay, that's someone who's living in moral idleness. They're not concerned about morally keeping their lives in order. That they're giving themselves to moral idleness, I would say. All right, there's no regularity about their life when it comes to their own Christian experience, their own Christian character, and so we need to withdraw ourselves from those people. That's what the scriptures are saying to us if we want to be wise. That's a key thought that I've highlighted here about moral idleness. Okay, so we don't want to practice moral idleness by having no care for our morals when we associate with other people. All right, and that comes down to the last section here, the futility of acquiring riches. And I think this is a key thought as well for the lesson. The only riches we can take from this world is the moral beauty of Christian character. That's what I got from here. Because we know that when we come into this world, the verses are quite clear bringing that out here. For when we die, we shall carry nothing away. All right? And don't fear the rich person who is, one who is made rich. When they die, they're just like you. They take nothing out of this world. As 1 Timothy 6 verse 7 brings out, we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain that we can carry nothing out of it. So why spend all your time and effort to acquire wealth in this world if you're giving yourself over to it and just piling riches upon riches, gathering it up to yourself? What's it going to profit you? The parable brings out, and the key verse from the lesson, for what is the man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? That's really what I want to bring out here for my classes. What we want then, the key thing is our soul. We want a soul that's fit for heaven. We want a soul that when the time of the end comes, when the judgment comes and we face the Lord, our soul is reflecting the character of Christ. All right, that's what we want. So that's why the lesson brings out here, note under here, it's the moral beauty, the perfection of Christ's character shining through them, that is, his people, Christians, that is worth far exceeding the outward splendor of the riches of this world. All right, so it's the moral beauty of Christ's character seen in us is what will far surpass the glory of all the wealth of this world can offer us. All right. So the soul redeemed and cleansed from sin, all its noble powers dedicated to the service of God, is of surpassing worth, and there is joy in heaven in the presence of God and holy angels over one soul redeemed, a joy that is expressed in songs of holy triumph. So, we may be poor in this world, but we can possess a wealth and dignity of character that this world cannot bestow upon us. Only Christ can bestow that by working within, conquering that spirit of covetousness, overcoming the deception, the tendency to practice deception to gain wealth, the tendency to be dishonest in our dealings with others, the tendency to practice injustice by oppressing others, by holding back our wealth, or being partial to others because they are wealthy. Avoiding that, and then avoiding those whose influence tends to all those things. We avoid their company. All right, that isn't spending a lot of time with them because it won't build up our characters in the Christian way. So this is what I got from the lesson for myself. So that's what I'll be bringing out. So again, for me, the macro point for this day. So just running through those key points. The macro point is a wise person avoids the deceitfulness of riches by recognizing the only thing we can take from this world is a morally beautiful character. Okay, so just going through the micro points, a person who is given to covetousness will practice deception for gain. Riches gained through dishonesty will result in eternal death. When we relieve the needs of the disadvantaged, we deliver them from their oppressors. And those who are wise will withdraw from those who walk in moral idleness. And the only riches we can take from this world is the moral beauty of a Christian character. And those 5 together, for me, I just summed it up this way, capturing the idea of being wise. A wise person, they avoid deceitfulness of riches. I want you to keep this in mind. They avoid the deceitfulness of riches. You might think riches is okay, but how do they deceive us? They deceive you by you thinking that you can take them with you into the next world, and you can't. The only thing you can take is your morally beautiful character. That's why I've sent and closed with that the wise recognize the only thing we can take out of this world is a morally beautiful character. So that's my macro point for the day. That's my take-home point. I want my class to understand. So there you have it. That's my summary as a teacher for the lesson. I hope that's been of help to you. And may God bless you this week in the Sabbath school. And take care until next week. God bless you and have a wonderful Sabbath day.